This build video is a little different than our others. We met an awesome fellow content creator and decided to do a build exchange. We're building it out of Wenge with a few surprise accents you don't want to miss.
So the first thing to do is to cut the 8/4 Wenge down to manageable sizes. Little fun fact about Wenge, it's from Africa, it's super dense, therefore very heavy, and its splinters can pierce your skin with the fires of 1,000 suns.
We're resawing the lumber on the table saw. To do that, we set the fence to a little more than the desired thickness of the walls of the box. We run it across the blade and then flip it to get the same cut on the other side. To avoid any burning or bogging down, we incrementally cut towards the center of the wood in small steps.
After an equal cut is made on each side of the lumber, we raise the blade a little more and run it through again until the blade height is maxed out or the lumber is cut all the way through. Once the blade height is maxed out, you can either use a pull saw or a hand saw to cut through the remaining material. We used our new bandsaw that we just bought a week ago, but we got so excited about it, we kind of forgot to film that part.
Now that the resawing is complete, we use the thicker part of the lumber to begin making what will be the top and bottom of the box. We cut it down at the miter saw into smaller pieces to run through the planer. Pew pew pew! Just like that.
As we run the pieces through the planer, we run an additional cutoff ahead of the pieces that we're actually going to use for our project. With our little planer, we tend to get a little snipe on the first piece through. Sending that sacrificial piece ahead of the project pieces ensures that we don't have to fuss with trying to sand it out or otherwise fix it later.
Here's the sacrificial piece with the snipe, and here's the project piece, all snipeless?
Unsniped?
Snipe deficient. With the pieces for the top and bottom all milled up, we glued them up and then took a puppy break.
Hey guys, don't forget to check out our website and get signed up for our email list so you can stay up to date on all the products, events, and builds at firstfruitdesignco.com. Moving right along, we milled up a single board that we're going to use for all 4 walls of the box. It's going to be a continuous grain wrapping all the way around the box with 45-degree mitered corners. We set the table saw blade to 45 degrees and use the miter gauge with the flip down stop to ensure that all our walls are consistently sized.
We found that what worked well was to cut the overall board in half with a 45-degree mitered cut, and then work outwards from that center cut, ensuring that your miters are going the correct direction. Doing it this way ensured we weren't trying to awkwardly move too large a piece across the table saw with the miter gauge.
As you can see, doing it this way gave us perfectly matched sized pieces. But don't be like Johnny and forget to wear your glasses and get dust all up in your eyes.
Next, we're laying out all our pieces for glue up, ensuring that the walls are in the correct order so the grain continues wall to wall. Also, we press them up against the straight edge and then begin taping what will be the outside corners of the box. Thankfully this time I didn't get whooped by the masking tape like I did in our propagation frame video.
Then we flip the whole piece over and begin putting masking tape right where the inside wall meets the mitered cut. Now this isn't totally necessary, but it definitely helps with cleaning up the glue squeeze out later on.
All taped off, we spread the glue in the miter joints and then roll the whole thing up like a rectangular Wenge burrito. Throw some tape on that final joint and then we can get it in clamps. For this we used our square clamps, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom to ensure all the walls were square to each other.
And one last check for square. As we remove the glue squeeze out with tape, make sure to hit that like button real quick and thank you for your support.
With the walls all clamped up, we can now take what will be the top and bottom out of clamps and get it all cleaned up. A few times through the planer, and then it's the track saw to get a perfectly straight edge on one side.
We cut the opposite side flush and parallel on the table saw. Then we cut out the top and bottom pieces, leaving them a little bit oversized to give us a little bit of material to work with. Meanwhile, outside there is a pretty epic monsoon here in the Sonoran Desert.
And so now we're going to take a trim router with a rabbeting bit, and we're going to run it around the inside of the top like so. And what that's going to do is create just a nice notched out groove like that in the inside of the wall. So then we will be able to take our top and bottom and fit it in there. So this isn't going to be the right size as of now. So after we get the rabbet cut out, we can then set it over the top and trace out in that groove all the way around where we need to cut out our top and bottom. So naturally this is going to leave a rounded corner. As it comes along, it'll be a nice straight edge. Well, when it gets to here, it's not going to square off that cut, obviously. So we can either then take chisel and just square it off, or we can round over our top and bottom. So now we're gonna get started on that. Because the edge grain of Wenge can splinter fairly easily, we did use climb cuts to ease our way down to the full depth of cut. Thankfully, everything went really well and it all turned out great. Just like I said, we place the walls with the rabbets cut in them over the top and bottom pieces and trace out the inside edge so we know where to cut with the bandsaw.
We'll sneak up on that perfect fit with the belt sander and then throw a 1/4 inch round over on the top and bottom. But let's talk about this collaboration while you watch that happen. So this project started when Jonathan from Business Everyday reached out to us and asked us if we wanted to do a collab with him. That's something that neither one of us had ever done. And so, of course, we said yes. And after talking back and forth a little bit, we decided that there were 2 things that we really wanted to accomplish with this. One, we wanted to have a lot of fun. Be creative, do what we love, doing woodworking, and just have a good time. The second thing that we wanted to accomplish was doing something that would further our skill set or kind of challenge us.
So the piece that we came up with to build for each other after a lot of back and forth is essentially a box, but it's more specifically like a keepsake box, and we wanted it to be kind of fancy. We have total creative control of the box we're building for the other maker. So we decided to go with a box that is 18 inches long, 12 inches wide, I guess, and 8 inches tall or deep. And that was pretty much all that's specific about each piece that's going to match and be the same.
So Johnny and I started kind of brainstorming what we thought would make this box really special. And the first thing we talked about was the wood type, right? That's really going to set the tone for the whole box. And one of both of our favorite woods is Wenge. It's not a wood I even knew about until last year. It's a very rare wood. It comes out of Africa. And the grain on this wood is just spectacular. It's a dark hardwood, but the grain inside it is light. So you can't mistake this wood for thinking that it's a cheap wood with a stain on it or anything like that. It's so luxurious and it just stands out so beautifully that we wanted to get this for Jonathan and make the box pop, starting out with just the wood.
Another way to grow our skill set was doing brass inlays. Like, I've wanted to do brass inlays on something for over a year probably, and just finding the right piece, the right application for it was not as easy as you might think. So we got these brass bars. We're going to be inlaying them in the top of the box in a specific pattern we've picked out, and also adding one really cool feature that you gotta wait till the end to see. We set out the bars in the pattern we wanted them in and traced where they were going to go. Then, just using a level as a straight edge, we cut the slots for the brass bars to fit into with a trim router and a 1/4 inch straight cut bit.
A little cleanup with a chisel and they're ready to be glued in. It's important to score the underside of the brass so that the adhesive has a rough surface to bond with. We're using Titebond CA glue as our adhesive. We just lay down a strip of glue and then pressed and lightly tapped the brass into the box top.
After a few minutes, we took the top to the bandsaw to cut off the excess brass and then cut the round over in the brass bars to match the top. Then we glued the top and bottom into the walls of the box.
The next day, we took it out of clamps and began sanding all the way up to 1,000 grit. We taped off the wood around the brass and polished the brass using a buffing pad and just automotive polish. This produced a super nice mirror-like finish.
Then came cutting the box at the table saw all the way around, creating the box and the lid as two separate pieces. I'll be honest, I would have much rather done this on the bandsaw, but the box was about 1/4 of an inch too wide for the bandsaw.
Other than the brass and the wood type, we decided we wanted to add 2 more little custom surprise features in this box. The first thing that we both knew we needed to add was an engraving. Jonathan is a master at the CNC, and actually most of the information that we've gleaned has been from his channel. So we knew we wanted to add a little custom engraving in there for him. The other thing we wanted was to do a technique to make that engraving pop. And it's a really simple technique. All you do is add a little bleach to the wood, and since Wenge is so dark, it really makes it pop. We put the bleach on, let it sit for about 30 minutes, and wipe it off and started engraving. And as you can see, it really just made the wood grain pop, and then also made the engraving just really detailed. The last thing, other than our logos and everything, was to add Proverbs 27:17. We met Jonathan, and honestly, we just clicked right away. We both decided we wanted to encourage one another, not only in our YouTube channels, but life in general. So we added that for him, and we're pretty stoked with how it turned out. Using mineral spirits and a rag, we wiped it down to get all the dust and debris out of the box. We decided to go with a spray lacquer for the finish and just let the wood and the brass speak for itself. And we're very pleased with how this whole project turned out.
We really enjoyed challenging ourselves and stepping out from what we're comfortable with and trying new elements and techniques that we've never done before. And we're confident that Jonathan is going to love it.
Most of all, we hope that we have inspired you guys to try something new and step out of your comfort zone. This box turned out absolutely beautiful, and we would have never known we were capable of it if we hadn't tried.
We'll put a card up here to Jonathan's build video when it's complete. Meanwhile, enjoy these beauty shots and then go watch this video, and don't forget to subscribe.